I finally received my Honor 70 device. Honor had sent it a month ago, but it was stuck at overseas customs, and I kept on waiting for weeks and weeks until finally it arrived today. Actually, it arrived yesterday, so it has been approximately 1 day since I've started using this, so these are my impressions. As usual, this is not a retail package, so I wasn't surprised this time to not find any pricing information. Looks like the customs people have already removed the plastic on the phone. Alright. And first thing I was surprised is how light this thing is. I had seen it already in the specs, but this thing is just around 180 something grams, which is almost alien for modern day phones. We are all used to very heavy, bulky smartphones in this screen size especially, so this thing is very lightweight and refreshing to hold. You can see that dual ring design on the back. It has 3 cameras in it. And speaking of cameras, this phone is in fact the first phone in the world with a Sony IMX800 camera. It's a 54 megapixel standard angle camera, so I'm expecting some good things in terms of colors and dynamic range because that's the biggest improvement that I'm supposed to see. The version they sent me has this unique frosted glass back which changes colors with the sun. There are some other color variants as well, like crystal silver, which looks pretty interesting actually. This one is called Icelandic Frost. It's a frosted glass finish, so it feels very slippery to the touch. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this. I'm used to typical smudgy glossy glassback phones, so this super slippery stuff is not really my taste. This thing is prone to getting dropped, so you might as well use the case that they provide in the box. I'm not going to because I don't like cases anymore. I don't know why. Suddenly I decided I don't like cases, so all of my phones are naked. Well, except for the built-in screen protector. I'll keep that intact. It has a very similar curved OLED display. It's a 1080p panel at 120Hz. It has the same 300Hz touch sampling rate as some of their high-end phones. For sure, if you pick this up for the first time, this smooth finish will take some time to get used to. There is a 66 watt charger as well provided in the box, and this phone surprisingly has a 4800 mAh battery built into it, despite being so lightweight. That's a first. It's very slim too. Honor calls this their perfect vlogging phone, so yeah, I'm really curious to see how it performs there. I am kinda disappointed to see that there's just a mono bottom firing speaker. There is no top stereo speaker. So I'm used to stereo setups on my phone, so I'm imagining these speakers will not impress me because it'll be easy to block them. There's a rather small unobtrusive punch hole camera, so it's easy to ignore. Let's quickly check the weight, and this phone is approximately 181 grams. So it's even lighter than most of my older devices, which were much lighter in my experience compared to modern phones, which are easily over 200-220 grams sometimes. And you can see the form factor is pretty slim and narrow compared to many other 2:1 aspect ratio phones. So this thing is really easy to hold with one hand. It does have adaptive refresh rate. It can change dynamically up to 120Hz, but I'm gonna set it to the maximum. And I haven't noticed a huge impact on my battery life with the Magic 4 Pro, so I'm gonna keep it in the same way. Now comparing my Magic 4 Pro with the Honor 70, I noticed that a few settings are different in the displays. Both of them are HDR 120Hz screens, but as I said, this is a lower resolution screen, and also this is a budget centric device. Although it is missing the frame rate booster and the AI image enhancer, which does help out in a few situations. So I guess they have to differentiate between their budget and flagship phones somehow, right? So maybe that's why they removed it. It is running a newer build of Magic UI on top of Android 12, so that's good. Now since I have another Honor device with me as my previous phone, I can just clone it using device clone. I'm just gonna do that. It works wirelessly really fast, so just have to grant a bunch of permissions first. And while I was setting it up, I noticed the location of the fingerprint sensor is very much on the bottom. It's not towards the middle like on my other phone, so that was interesting, but I still can reach it. It's a narrow device, so that's fine. Another thing I noticed is that it's an optical fingerprint sensor because you can see it glows bright when I put my finger because it has to shine light on my finger to see my fingerprint. It's not the ultrasonic one that's present on my more expensive device. And even though optical ones are considered inferior in some way, they are pretty fast and reliable. This thing works almost all the time. I did notice it to be just a little bit slower than some other optical sensors I've seen, but it's not bad. It does have face unlock as well, but it's just using the selfie camera, so it's not a 3D face unlock which is actually secure like the one on the Magic 4 Pro. And yes, since it doesn't have any infrared LEDs, it can't really read your face if you're holding it far away in the dark. So it does have trouble recognizing your face in a pitch black room. But thankfully fingerprint is there, so anytime your face unlock doesn't work, you can just use your finger and unlock. It's not a big deal. I'm just spoiled by using a high-end phone, so it feels like a big difference to me, but it's really not. The frame is made of aluminum instead of any other heavy material like stainless steel. It allows it to keep the phone lightweight. Let's check out that 66 watt charger, shall we? It's low on battery. I'm just gonna plug it in. And from my experience of Honor Super Flash charger, it doesn't really heat up the device at all. The charger kind of gets hot, but that's fine. The device barely even gets warm, which is amazing. Honor 70 also supports wireless charging and reverse wireless charging up to 5 watts. So it's only good enough to like charge your earphones or something. And I noticed it does rock on the table, obviously because of this camera hump. Since it is on the side, it does rock a little bit, but I don't really use my phone while it's on a table. I always hold it, so not a big deal again. Alright, let's take it outside and take some pictures. First thing I noticed was that this back glass kind of glitters like tiny diamonds underneath a bright light, like sunlight. It looks pretty dope, and it actually changes color based on the angle a little bit. Now I know I've seen this before, but I haven't seen it in this frosted glass finish, which almost gives it a different look. Let's talk about the cameras, shall we? This one here is a 54 megapixel IMX800 sensor. Again, brand new, we haven't seen this before. The second one is a 50 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and the top one is a 2MP depth camera. Now while taking pictures, I noticed there is some shutter lag, like it takes around half a second to capture the picture. But even after clicking the shutter multiple times, it doesn't really register a blurry photo. Like it always takes crisp, clear photos under good lighting. So the software is smart enough to keep a high enough shutter speed so that your photos don't turn out blurry. That's good. And I don't think there is any OIS, but the EIS on these is great. Like you can see, I'm moving my hand around quite a bit and the video looks really stable. It does support 4K videos, but it doesn't support 4K 60. Which is kind of a letdown for me because I record in 4K 60 and obviously I can't use this if I want to record as my main camera. It does do 1080p 60 and it looks really good, but I mean, Honor, come on, it's 2022. Every phone should have 4K 60. I'm not sure if other phones with the 778G have 4K 60. Do they? Let me know in the comments. Even the 4K 30 is actually pretty great. Even though the frame rate is not up to my taste, the stabilization and colors are really good. It has some cool features as well, like it can use the ultra wide and the main camera together to give you this widescreen as well as a smaller vertical screen view. So they call it a solo cut. So you have to actually be behind the camera, so you can't easily do it yourself because you have to tap on the subject yourself. I managed to do it with my second phone using a screen mirroring software. So this is only geared towards the cameraman. Like if you are the camera person yourself, then it's a little difficult to capture it like that. But essentially it captures both a landscape video and a portrait video tracking you around the frame. And I guess it's a good way of creating two kinds of content at the same time, but the way it tracks is not that good. It kind of chops around a bit, so I think it needs some work. The pictures on the main camera look really good. Plenty of dynamic range, good colors, and great background depth of field thanks to that larger sensor and the 54 megapixel resolution. The 32 megapixel selfie camera does have good clarity, like I compared it with my Magic 4 Pro, and it definitely has more clarity than that phone. And even though it doesn't have a second camera for depth sensing, it can do portrait mode shots much better because it has more resolution to play with. It can actually capture my hair much better than my Magic 4 Pro, so that's surprising. The ultra wide on this is also a really good quality sensor. There is no telephoto, obviously. It does give you a 2x zoom option, but that's just digital zoom, and yeah, it doesn't look that great. This phone is not for zooming, it's for vlogging. And if you were to vlog with this phone, here's what the footage looks and sounds like. So this is kind of what it's like to vlog with this thing. After all, this is the best vlogging phone, right? Lighter weight definitely helps moving things around easier. You know, it's easy to move this thing and hold it with one hand. It's not very heavy. Man, squirrels are super loud. Did you know that? We also get lots of peacocks here. I mean, they are beautiful, but peacocks are loud. They are annoying and loud. Hear that? This would also be a good test for the microphones. Shut up. Yeah, it's like this all the time. Now I didn't know this, but before switching between front and rear, there is like a half a second delay, so you should stop talking, switch the camera and then continue to talk. Because if you talk in the middle, it'll just get cut off. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a vlogger, I still have a lot to learn. It does do a good job of keeping focus on the face and keeping it well exposed, even though it's completely blowing out the highlights, but that's common, every camera does that. And it's like noon right now, not the ideal time for recording, but if you're a self-obsessed narcissistic influencer, you want a camera in your face all the time, right? So this works. So yes, the stabilization is good, focusing is really great. So you can definitely use this for vlogging, and the lighter weight makes it easy to hold like that for a long time. Pretty much the only thing I'm disappointed is that it doesn't have stereo speakers, as I mentioned. It's a good sounding speaker, the sound is crystal clear, it's great, but it's not great for like holding it like this and playing games. But other than that, I think this is a fantastic device. How much is this anyway? So the Honor 70 is launching in a bunch of countries, so even Europe and Latin America. It costs approximately £479. Oh, that's like $550 maybe. So it's not super cheap, but think about it like this. It's a phone with a flagship grade main camera, 54 megapixel IMX800, and a second pretty good ultra wide sensor, a really good quality selfie camera with a bunch of fun modes to help you with your content creation and vlogging, great quality HDR display, a lightweight body with a unique finish on the back, 66-watt charger in the box as well. So that's a lot of great features for the price. It's not really meant for anyone who's looking for a great value for money or something. It's made for people who are shopping in the $500 range, who are looking for like a premium looking phone with great hardware internals with nice style as well. I mean, look at this camera ring. Don't you think it looks iconic? I think it looks pretty good. And even though there are some novelty stuff here like this depth sensing camera, I don't know what exactly it does, because I tried covering that camera with tape and it still takes the same good looking portrait mode shots. So what does this camera do exactly? I'm not saying it's useless, but I can't see the usefulness of it, which is essentially saying it's useless. But still, at least the main camera is great, and that is the camera you will use for most of your, photos and videos. So I think for people who are looking for such a interesting looking device, this may be a good option. And not to mention, you can't really find these lightweight style devices anymore, especially with giant 4800 mAh batteries. That's the biggest thing that impressed me. I'm not sure. Can you think of any other device that looks great, has great internals, and a premium camera like this, especially around this price range? I think Honor has done a really good job. They have even fixed most of the bugs that I used to face back in like May or June. So the software has come a long way, and I'm seeing good things in the future. So there you have it. Those were my approximately 1 day's worth of impressions of the Honor 70. I think this is kind of my conclusive review. It's going to be a great device. I probably won't do another full review of this, but let's see. If I have something to update, I will update in about a month's time or maybe 2 weeks time. In the meantime, I'll give you updates via posts on the community tab or on my Instagram as stories maybe. So you can check that out. And let me know if you have any further questions on the Honor 70, or if you have any tests that you like me to conduct on this.